morning. Nice to see you here. I, I would like to give a big round of applause for this guy who is here for the 7th year of DevReach. He's virtually every single year here. Stephen Forte.
Thanks for having me back. And I'd like a round of applause for Martin Kulov, the inventor, the founder of DevReach. Without him, we wouldn't be here today. Round of applause for Martin.
Thanks, Steve. And then we have the Microsoft student partners that are here with us today. And they're kind of the guys who get the technology in the right way, not the wrong way like we do, right? So please, round of applause for the Microsoft student partners. And please, Microsoft student partners, raise up so we can see you here.
Even when we can't see you in the other rooms.
So, Steve, I know we have a scenario to talk about, but can we change it a little bit? I'll push you a little bit.
We're nothing if not agile, Martin.
Yeah. So what is your international experience on conferences? You've been doing Hong Kong accelerators. You've been living in New York for virtually half of your life and maybe even more. So how is the international conferences going on? And what is the best experience you get from these kind of conferences?
So I think the best experience I've ever gotten from an international conference is my very first DevReach. Martin and Knockoff bring me to a bar and give me a glass of rakia. And they tell me to drink it like a shooter. And then I ask them, how do you say cheers in Bulgarian? And they don't say nastrave. They teach me how to say some very bad words. So I'm standing in the bar, drinking rakia like a shooter. I think I'm standing on the table, right? And I'm saying some really bad Bulgarian words, and the entire bar is looking at me, and I just think Bulgarians like me.
Oh, that's awesome. I cannot forget that day, definitely.
So let me just do a quick opening here and say that we have 750 attendees this year, so everyone give yourself a quick round of applause. We've grown DevReach through the years. We have 750 attendees. When you add the speakers and the staff, there's over 800 people from DevReach. That's about a 5 times growth from our very first DevReach, coming from 25 countries. We also have 44 speakers coming from, I think, 11 or 12 different countries on 3 continents. Speakers from all range of the spectrums, from book authors to MVPs to luminaries in their field. So DevReach really has grown. We have a tremendous amount of sessions. We'll get into that in a second. But Martin and I, we're not going to take too much more of your time, but we want to just give a quick personal story about how technology is changing. And with that, DevReach is evolving. And we wanted to bring that together to set the theme for the next 2 days. And I'm going to start off just partly my history. 10 years ago, I was starting a company, and it cost me a few $1 million to start the company. And almost all of that money was invested in servers. I won't tell you about the technology, what was involved, and the solution that was involved. If you're interested, we could talk about it in the hallways. But I had to build a very large server farm in order to deal with almost 100 million plus unique visitors to the website per month. This was 10 plus years ago. And what I did is I built a really large web farm, and I built a really large server farm, and I clustered SQL Server solution. As I said, it cost me a few million US dollars. We had to go get funding to start this business. At the exact same time, I had a lot of friends working in the corporate world, and they had the exact same problem. They needed a big solution. They had to go ask for a budget of $2, $3, $4 million to get all of the servers online. And they had to fight with the IT staff in order to get those servers online in a reasonable amount of time. The reason why Martin and I think it's such a great time to be a developer and why things are so exciting is because the cloud changes everything. The cloud and the elasticity of the cloud, meaning you pay for only what you need, the elasticity of the cloud radically reduces the amount of money that it takes it radically reduces the amount of money it takes and the effort involved to put a solution into production. If you're a startup, you can get started virtually for free with BizSpark and Azure. After the 1 year runs out, you'll be paying maybe $100, $200 a month. You'd no longer require that 2 to 3 million capital expense up front. So the cloud has democratized IT and has made it a really compelling time. Martin's going to tell us a little bit about ALM and I'll talk a little bit about devices and how it affects the schedule.
So in that way of thinking, we were talking with Steve that it's quite an interesting time to be a developer these days. And I still remember back in year 2000, we were developing COM objects, talking with plain web services, and it was really hard to develop that. It is still hard today, but I mean, technology is evolving, and we all have to keep up with that. But now we have the tools. We have Visual Studio, who is positioned like the top leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and that means a lot. It means that we're working with the best tools available on the market these days. And with the Microsoft AOM stack, the developer is put into the middle of the whole application lifecycle. So it's like Windows Phone. It says the people are about Windows Phone. So in Visual Studio AOM is the same. It's the developer. It's the people who are put in the middle of the whole life cycle, so you can interact with everyone. And the tools are just incredible. The new web access of Visual Studio TFS and the new features of Visual Studio that enables you to drag and drop work items and associated with check-in, it's just so cool. So my point actually is that it's never been such a great time to be a developer. It's coming a new decade with Windows 8 devices and stuff. And I think Steve can share a little more on that.
And Martin hit the point here. This decade that's coming ahead of us, we are entering a new phase between the new tooling that we got from Microsoft, between the cloud, not just Microsoft's offering, but Azure, I mean, not just Azure, but EC3, EC2. In addition, when I came to my very first DevReach, the iPhone wasn't even released. When the iPhone was released, it started a revolution. And what happens is, I used to ask in the audience, how many people have a smartphone? And maybe half the audience would raise their hand. Now everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has a tablet. But not just the geeks, not just the developers. The people, the consumers, the regular people are bringing those devices to work. And they're expecting those devices to work on the corporate network. They're expecting to access corporate resources. They're expecting that corporate resources will behave like apps. I see people saying, well, how come I just can't get my corporate resources right out of the App Store? This is sometimes referred to as the consumerization of IT. I know Martin hates that term, but that's what all the Gartner groups and everyone calls it. Because of this, we now have 3 major platforms, Windows 8, which will ship in a week or less. We also then have the Android and iOS platforms. So because of this new radical change in technology, what we are doing is we have evolved DevReach to follow those trends. So what we're doing now is we have 5 themes, and our 5 themes will cover all the challenges and opportunities that are facing developers today. We're going to look at web, we're going to look at mobile, we're going to look at devices, we're going to be looking at agile and architecture, and this year we're also adding 3 live panels and some open space events. So DevReach itself is evolving following where the new technology trends are. Because there's so much technology, because there is so much out there, what we are doing is we actually expanded into 6 halls. Last year we only had 4 halls. And in those 6 halls, we're spreading across these 5 tracks, these themes. And we're going to have well over 60 sessions delivered by, as I said, over 44 speakers from multiple different disciplines. So it's going to be a fabulous 2 days. You're going to come back out of these 2 days with a great opportunity to see multiple pieces of technology. And before we go and turn it over to our first speaker, and in this room there'll be 1 speaker, and in the rooms that we're streaming into there'll be different speakers. Before we go, we just want to thank 2 of our sponsors. We want to thank Microsoft, our gold sponsor, and we also want to thank Pluralsight. And Pluralsight has sponsored this opening, and when you checked in today, you should have gotten a Pluralsight card. And what this is developer training on demand. So if you have forgotten anything from your sessions today or missed a session, chances are there is a Pluralsight course that you could watch, and you have a free 30-day subscription in your packet. I myself have 2 Pluralsight courses. My company, Telerik, we've released about 3 or 4 Pluralsight courses as well. There's Pluralsight courses on every technology that we're covering here at DevReach. So make sure to check that out. And with that, we're going to turn it over to our speakers. Enjoy the sessions, enjoy the show, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy.